Hey everybody, PatBenage here, the evolution coach, creator of the 6-week shift and the inner path, and author of this inspirational blog, SoulTalk. And here it is, December already. Man, time flies. It just keeps going by. We're getting ready to come up on we've just been through Thanksgiving and coming up on the holiday season, whether you celebrate Christmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa or something completely different or nothing at all, or if you just celebrate the winter solstice. It's a time of reflection a little bit. It's a time of family, love. It's a time of rebirth. It's a time also to take a look. It's an opportunity, I guess, to take a look at what we put our faith in, what we believe about life, about God, about ourselves, and an opportunity to explore that, to decide again what we believe and what we don't. And so my soul talk today is really asking that question. What do you believe? What do you believe? And where does that belief come from? I mean, is it really your belief, or is it something that's been handed down to you? You know, also this time of year, it's about traditions. And so, you know, a great many of us, I mean, I even still celebrate Christmas as a traditional thing. And, you know, I don't celebrate it as the birth of Christ so much anymore, as I do just a family time to get together and share the love and you know, gifts and whatever that is. I mean, I try to stay out of the commercialism of it as well, as much as possible. But you know, there's something, you know, there's something nice and heartwarming about celebrating the season and having family around and exchanging gifts and having the opportunity to be together and thankful for each other and expressing in another way how we feel about each other. And it's, you know, at least for me, it's not about, well, how much do you spend on me, or how much do I spend on somebody else? You know, even though I do set up a budget, you know, for that. And I've always been, being a Libra, I've always been into being fair about it. I had 2 kids, and I balanced that out, you know. But you know, I think one of the things about that is those traditions. Where did they come from, and what, and how much of that do I still embrace, or am I just doing it out of habit, or what is that? And I think it's a good time to take a look inside and say, what is it that I actually do believe? You know, what do I believe? And what is it that's, you know, are my actions reflecting what I really believe, or do they still reflect something that's been passed down to me? And maybe that's the same. Maybe what's been passed down to you is what you believe. And that's okay. There's nothing, you know, I'm not saying that your belief system has to change from what your parents or your grandparents or further up the line believed. There's no need for that to change unless it's not what you really believe. So again, explore what is it that you believe. You know, for me, I mean, I'm here every week offering you my point of view of what I believe. And one of the things that I try to express, and I don't do this every time, but I try to, sneak this in relatively frequently, is that don't believe what I say. Don't believe it just because I say it, and don't disbelieve it just because I say it. But what I'm talking about here is how I see things, and even that changes, that evolves. If I'm not willing to expand my beliefs to include other things or to change altogether, then I stop growing. I stop that evolutionary process, even though I can't really, but temporarily I can inhibit it. And so I think it's an important aspect of life to continue to consider what it is that one believes, to consider where did those beliefs come from, and is that really how I see things? And questioning, wondering about, as my good friend Parker would say, I wonder all the time. And wonder is a great thing, because it keeps you in this state of not necessarily uncertainty, but and I had a client of mine who the other day told me that rather than having fear about the unknown or what's coming, that the preferential thing would be to be curious about it, to just be curious. And so I think that's a great thing. And I think that when we close ourselves off, when we have a belief system that is locked in, we dampen curiosity. And I think it's a wonderful part of life's experience to be curious. To wonder about life and what's happening and how it works, and what it's all about, what it's all about for me. And when you have uncertainty unfolding around you, and you're not sure where things are going, you're not sure how that's all going to unfold, rather than being fearful about it, to be curious, that's a beautiful metaphor. It's a beautiful way to look at life. But you can't do that if you have a belief system that doesn't allow for that. You might be able to do it as long as as long as the thing that you're looking at fits within your belief system, then you can be curious about it. But once it moves outside of that, the edge of that, then it becomes difficult for you to wonder about it. You think you know already. You can't fill an already filled glass. And so don't break the container. Break the container. And instead of having your beliefs be something that is finite and stagnant and handed down, make them yours. Make your beliefs your beliefs. And that's really all that matters. You can end up deciding that what you believe is what has been handed down, and that's fine, but don't believe it because it's been handed down. Don't believe it because that's what your parents taught you. Don't believe it because that's what anybody taught you, that's what the church taught you, or Explore it for yourself. I think, as I look at my own beliefs, my approach to it, and this doesn't have to be anybody else's approach, this is just my approach. But my approach to it is that yes, I believe, and so it helps me to make sense of life. So my beliefs help me to make sense of things. However, I always leave open the possibility that there's more to it than what I believe. And also the possibility that something that I believe might not be true. Might not be true. And that's the real challenging part for me, and for most people, I think, is that once you believe something to be true, it's hard to convince you otherwise. Isn't that right? Isn't that your experience? That if you believe something to be true, then in order to shake that belief, in order to put a dent in that armor there, it's going to take something pretty substantial to get you to change your mind. And even then, even in the face of that, even in the face of strong evidence that says what you believe to be true may not be true, we oftentimes will fight to the death almost for that belief. We'll defend it forever. Even when we know in our heart that you're holding on to something that isn't true. But what is that about? Why do we do that? Well, of course we do it because if that belief isn't true, and we accept that, then it could it could be the one domino that knocks over all of them. And maybe everything we thought was true isn't. And that's a possibility. I've said before, this reality, in fact, there was something that was posted in Facebook, and I haven't really looked at it, but it was something about reality not being reality. And I've explored that myself many times, that this physical world is all illusion. And I teach that. I teach that from the standpoint that for me, illusion really is anything that's not permanent. That's everything that's temporary is ultimately illusion. And there's only one permanent aspect to myself, and that's my consciousness. That's my soul. However you want to label that. And I don't know for certain, for absolute certain, that that's permanent. I don't know that it's eternal, but that's what I believe. That's what I believe. And that's, with all of the exploration, all of the, inner work and outer work that I've done, that I haven't seen anything that's given me a reason to doubt that. To doubt that belief that soul is eternal. And so I think that's one of the beliefs that I see anyway as being important to explore for yourself is who do you believe that you are? When it comes right down to it, when you identify the I, what is that? Who is that? Who are you? What do you believe about it? Because what you believe about who you are, that determines everything. that influences everything in your life. I think that's the core thing that I'm teaching with all of this, is to go within and figure out and understand, who am I? Who do I believe myself to be? And where, if when I'm first exploring that, when I ask myself, what do I believe? Then where does that belief come from? Have I actually done any exploration myself to help me make that decision, to come to that conclusion? Or is it just what somebody else has told me, and I've just taken it for granted? So, coming into this holiday season, however you celebrate this time of year, I would ask that you ask this question of yourself. What do I believe? And start with, what do I believe about who I am? What I am? Explore that. And let that take you wherever it may. Let what you find, what you begin to divine from your exploration, let that take you on this journey. Just a little note to let you know, this next week, December the 11th, I'll be speaking. For anybody that's local to Central Oregon, I'm going to be speaking. I mentioned this before, but I'm going to be speaking at the Old Stone Church in Bend, 5:15 in the evening on, again, Sunday, December the 11th. It's part of the spiritual awareness community. And I'm going to be talking about purpose, prosperity, and peace, and how those things are just completely linked together, and how you can take advantage of that link to create the life that you want. And so, thanks again for joining me. And think about what it is that you believe. What it is that you believe. Have a great week. See you next week. And once again, live life from the inside out.